Hello friends, I want to discuss the remain salient features of our constitution today. So we have already earlier discussed about the republic as the feature of constitution. I again some explaining about the same. We have already understood that republic means the power obtained by the government from people. See, in India, neither any regime means rule from one person or a king is coming in the same family as like the kingship we can see. But instead of that, we have adopted democratic republic system of administration or the governance. See, this is the one line question to be answered. Democratic republic system of governance means people will decide their rulers by themselves without looking to from which family the person is coming. So the powers are in hands of ultimately people of India, not in few privileged, means rights having people. The powers are not in hand of one person, but powers are in hands of all people in India. So the citizen of India are without looking to their caste, class and religion are giving vote and deciding their administrative person. Okay, if we want to understand one example, if a person coming from the very common family reached to the prime minister's post, it is not a big family having the powers by beginning. But if a person reached to the prime minister's post coming from the very common class of the family, then we all can reach to such higher post. See, one example is given in your book. Any common person, be it a hard worker or a vegetable vendor means hawker, can become the sarpanch of a village, right? So it means any person can reach to any post without looking to his or her family background. Just only one thing is required. He or she must be honest. Without the honesty, neither any power is meaningful. So the honesty is the basic characteristic. So he or she should be honest to the people. Now there is one table given in your textbook. I am just explaining the table. Discussion about the central government. See, this is the another feature characteristic that the organs in Indian administration, there are two different governments as a federal state. The one kind of the government is the central government, which is looking over the all over India, and second one is a state government looking for any specific state. And in these both kind of the governments, three divisions. First division is the legislature, second division is the executive, and the third division is the judiciary. Now you understand one thing. Legislature means the persons sitting in the post of the representatives are taking decision about the rules to be implemented over the people. So the rules and laws are made by the legislature. This is their work. If we are looking to the judiciary, What could you think about the work of the judiciary? Judiciary is the work to see that the implementation is properly done of the law or not. So the judiciary is looking to proper justice given to the common class and proper implementation of the law. And now we are discussing about the executive. Then what do you think so? What could be the executive's activity? The executive's activity is to implement the law, and the judiciary will see that the implementation is properly followed or not. When the executive people belongs to executive are taking wrong decision, the judiciary will stop them also. So in that way, judiciary is not directly controlled by executive or legislature. And same way, executive is also not completely controlled by judiciary or the legislature. Only one thing is connecting them, their constitutional powers and duties. Remember, okay, it is true that the member of the executive is coming from the legislature, because it is necessary that people should elect them and then they should reach to the power, otherwise they cannot reach. Remember this thing. Okay, now I am explaining the structure of central government and the state government. First I am talking about the legislature at the central government. The legislature at the central government is said as the parliament, and our people belongs to parliament are sitting in the two houses. Lok Sabha as the lower house and Rajya Sabha as the upper house. This is the legislature at the central level. Is that clear? Now I am coming to the executive at the central level. See, executive at the central level is also controlled by the president, but actually president is also part of the parliament. President is also part of the executive, and president is the person who appoint judges of the judiciary. In that way, president is integral part of our complete democratic system at the central level. So the executive is originally under the control of president, but president directly not coming to that. Instead of that, the executive is coming under control of prime minister and his council of ministers. Now the third side is judiciary. We have already heard here. Judiciary at the central level is controlled and administered by Supreme Court of India. Is that clear? Now I am just looking to the state government structure. In state government structure, we have to understand two levels. First is the state government level, and second is the local self administrations. So I am first discussing about state government structure. Okay, now here also the three part: legislature, executive and judiciary. So now we first discuss about the legislature. At the state level, generally legislature is in one house format, but in some states of India, legislature is also in two house format like parliament, And in that situation, the lower house is called Legislative Assembly, means the Vidhan Sabha, and upper house is called Legislative Council, means the Vidhan Parishad. But usually the legislature at the state level is administered by only one house, that is Vidhan Sabha. It is compulsorily required, but it is dependent on the state legislature that to frame the legislative council or not. So again remember, legislative assembly means Vidhan Sabha and legislative council means Vidhan Parishad. So Vidhan Sabha is the lower house at the state legislature and Vidhan Parishad is the upper house at the state legislature. Remember this thing, you have to understand it also. Now you understand about the state legislature executive structure. At the higher authority in the state is representative of the President of India, is higher authority of the state in executive, he is governor. So the same situation of the governor is like the same situation of President of India, right? So the powers of the governor is limited up to the state, but equally important like President of India. But main thing is that governor of the state is representative of President of India. So you can understand that the governor of the state is almostly following the orders given by the president or their authority directed to him by the way of Prime Minister and his councils of ministers. Now, under the control of the governor, the executive of the state comes. In this executive, chief minister is active person as the administrative power and his council of ministers with him. So in that way, the same power to the prime minister at the national level in the central government will be with chief minister and his ministers in the state government. Remember, now we understand the judiciary of the state. See, judiciary of the state is controlled by the High Court, and the High Court is under the supervision of Supreme Court. So here there is a linear structure: Supreme Court to the High Court and High Court to the subordinate courts. And here subordinate courts are by flow of district court to the other lower courts. So in that way, in India, the judiciary is straight: Supreme Court to the High Court to the district court to the other subordinate courts. Is that clear? Understand this thing. Now I am coming to the next part, is local self-government. So in local self-government, first you understand that panchayat at the district level, then taluka level, then village level. So the district panchayat, then taluka panchayat, then last one is a village panchayat. It is called gram panchayat. It is about the rural administration which I discussed. Now I discuss about the urban administration. For the urban administration, you understand one thing. that municipal corporation is having power in the urban area. Also with that, municipalities or municipal boards are looking to some towns and other regions. So in that way, now in the present days, metro cities, mega cities are having metropolitan corporation. So this is the another big structure than the municipal corporation. So the metropolitan corporation, municipal corporation, municipalities, municipal boards, towns planning area committee, these are different structure in the urban area. Urban means the city and the rural means the village. So you understand one thing, that in India it is very clearly indicated that the whole administration is divided in different levels. First at the central government, second at the state government, and under them local self government. Right? This is the structure of Indian administration which I explained. Now we discuss about our federal structure. So the federal structure is divided in two divisions, central level and state level. And in federal structure, the power to make the laws or power to frame the laws are divided in three levels. At the central level, the laws are framed or established by central government. So it is called unionist because the parliament is enacting the law. Enacting means making the law, framing the law. It is called unionist. The second list, it is called state list. Here the laws are made by state governments in their respective state limits. So one state's laws will not implement in other state. So in that way, state administration has power to frame their state limitation having laws, and those laws are included in the state list. Remember. Now the third list which I want to explain is called concurrent list. Now you can ask me question that, sir, what is the meaning of concurrent list? In that kind of list, actually the constitution has included those subjects on which central government and state government both have equal powers. Now you may have question that whose power will implemented there. In that situation of the concurrent list subject, if state have framed any law and if central government wants to enact the law, in that situation state government's law will be cancelled, and instead of that, law framed or enacted by the central government will be implemented in that state. So here you remember one thing, that in this situation, whose powers are more to frame the law? Now you think. Naturally, central government's powers are more, because in union list only central government can frame law. And in concurrent list, even though the state government has made the law, but in case of central government is making the law on the same subject, the law enacted or framed by state government will be cancelled. So in that way we can say that central government's power in framing of the laws are more than state government. But the fourth list, which is not given in your book, which I want to say. Now listen. See, our constitution was made in 1949, but it does not mean that after that time no changes has come to the country. Even today you can see lots of the changes are coming in the country. It means our constitution makers have completely clear understanding. They had clear understanding that in future, whichever the new situation may arise, the government of that time may arise the need of making the new kind of the law. So in future the new subject will come, will be included in the fourth list. It is called residuary power. The fourth list, which is actually was not included in the constitution in 1949, only one point was included, that in future the new subject may arise, they will be included in residuary powers list, and that list will be only under the control of central government. So in last 4 or 5 years some laws are made, as like the GST. You have seen that the law was passed by central government, not by state government. So it means it is very clear that our constitution makers were clearly and perfectly having impression that in future any kind of the new changes may come in the world. In that situation, our government of any time may rule in the state, may need new change of the law, and that change will be implemented by the way of residuary power. So those new act in future may framed by only central government but will not given to the state governments. Is that clear? So in that way, according to the federal structure, basically 3 lists and actually 4 lists. First I said as union list, second I said as state list, third I said as concurrent list, and fourth is the residuary power. But in your book the discussion of the residuary power is not given, but it is necessary to understand when you are understanding of the constitution, right my students? Now the last point I am discussing is fundamental rights. This is the important point. As the citizen you have to understand. Fundamental rights means, according to the constitution, whoever take the birth in India will have power and right or guarantee to live as the resident of India, can lead his life to the peaceful life, as well as live the life as the citizen of India. So, some rights are given to the citizens of India as fundamental right, and these rights are six rights. First is the equality before the law. Second is freedom of religion. Third is freedom of association and peaceful assembling. Assembling means gathering. Fourth is freedom of speech and expression, means what we think we can speak. And sixth is right to constitution remedies. This is the important right. Right to constitutional remedies for protection of our civil rights, means our fundamental rights. So in that way, who were making the constitution, they were aware that in future the time may come when the people need different protection. So in that way, when they were making the constitution, they had made one shield. Shield means protection for our rights to be protected properly and implemented it to us. So now you understand carefully that our rights are given to us without looking to our any kind of class, caste, race, color, any kind of the discrimination, right? So here I discussed about fundamental right which are given to us by Constitution of India in 1949 when the constitution was implemented, right? So now you understand very clearly that these are the characteristics which make our constitution as completely powerful constitution to implement for us and give us all power to live our life as the citizen of India. Right, my friends? So here I have completed the explanation of this chapter. Right? This was not a big chapter, but it was necessary to understand because it is a part of the civics. And for the students, civics needs complete attention as to understand about their own awareness for the constitution. Right, my friends? So here I am completing the chapter. Okay, my friends.